Hello and welcome to Widowed AF. I'm your I'm going to re-record that. Welcome to the award-winning Widowed AF. And yes, I will be saying that for the foreseeable future. So for anybody that doesn't know, yes, won gold at the British Podcast Awards, Best Interview category. So yes, really, really, really delighted about that. And we're going to do a little bit of what got me that award. I'm going to talk to somebody from the forefront of widowhood. Now, some of you listeners might be familiar with my guest today. Her name is Lisa Marshall, and on TikTok and Instagram, you can find her with what would you call it? The handle? God, I'm so old. And it's _widow diaries. Is that right, Lisa?
Yeah, that's right.
It's right. Welcome to the podcast, lovely. It's so great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
We're both really buzzing for this. We had a little chat before we click record. And one of the things that really stands out for me with Lisa's story is the kind of parallels with my own. And I know it's not all about me, but this is how we find those connections, isn't it? You look at something and you go, oh my God, she's going to get a little bit of how I feel. She's going to get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll just get each other, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's so important, isn't it? This community, it's so important that we talk about this stuff.
Absolutely.
Now, Lisa, yours it's going to be a tricky one because these ones always are. Your husband, Alan, he died from suicide, didn't he?
Yeah, he died from suicide.
And sadly, you're not my first guest to come on and talk about the death of a partner to suicide. It happens far more frequently than we probably want to think.
Yeah.
But you are the first guest to come on who has had absolutely no closure because Alan didn't leave a note or anything. You had no indication.
No.
And I think that is something that terrifies us all because if there's no signs, how can we protect them? How can we stop it happening?
Yeah.
So before I give away your entire story, Lisa, why don't you tell it yourself? I normally like to get people to talk a little bit about the person that they fell in love with, go back to the beginning a bit. So you start whenever you're ready.
No, that's really lovely, Rosie. You're completely right, because when Alan died, I felt that all the kind of happy memories, the relationship we had, you almost just forget it all.
Yeah.
You really do. It vanishes from your memory. And I think that's a trauma response, basically. So you can try and almost get over it quickly because you can't remember anything good about the person. So when I get asked, like you did there, about the relationship, it's really, really nice because there was a relationship. It was a happy relationship and it was 11 years. So it does make you think back and it forces you to go back to the kind of happy memories, which is really, really nice. And I think now I'm 2.5 years in, they are coming back more. They are definitely. So
it's so weird, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And it's something I only realised quite recently was how much of the happiness I'd locked down. And it was a really silly, I'd taken my son to see Fleetwood Mac by candlelight, not the real Fleetwood Mac. And it was really lovely. And at the end, they started to play Eva Cassidy's Songbird, right? Now, I'd forgotten it was a Fleetwood Mac song. I was thinking of it as being Eva Cassidy.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had to say it like that so I could remember the name of the song. That's a little insight into my brain there. And I felt this kind of wave of emotion. And then we stayed and I listened to it and I pictured myself walking down the aisle and I thought, God, I'd locked that away for so long because it hurt too much.
It did, and it's so sad.
Yeah, and also I think we talk about legacy, and if you come on and tell me about Alan the person rather than Alan that took his own life, right? Then his legacy sticks around. Anyway, I'm too excitable today. Right, crack on.
So I met Alan when I was 19. He was 26, and I think like most stories in Glasgow, we met in a nightclub. It was Cushion nightclub. It's no longer there. It's something else. And I went into it last year when it was the new version of the club, and I was just like, oh my God, like it's weird how you just kind of takes you straight back to that kind of time. But I met him. He was very, very drunk. He was on a night out with his friends that were dentists. And then I was actually a student at the time. I was studying dentistry. So we met, and then we never actually kind of like went the first date until about 6 months later. So it was 6 months after that he asked me out.
And any contact in the meantime?
Oh, this is actually quite embarrassing. And he never put it in my wedding speech, in his wedding speech, but I put it in the funeral eulogy. So what happened was, like, I really liked him. So I added him as a friend on Facebook, but he never accepted me. Obviously, I was a bold
feel the rejection.
Because I would not be doing things like that now. And then he accepted me 6 months later, and I was just like, who is this? And then I was like, oh, it's him. And he asked me out, and part of me was just like, oh, well, I go, it's been a while. Why did not ask me 6 months before? But, obviously, I think timing's really important in life in general. And then it was probably a better time for me, a better time for him. And then that was that. I was only 19. And then we got engaged. I started going out 2011 and got engaged 2014, actually at my graduation. Things went really quickly, but really quickly, like moved in together. Moved into his flat. 2 years later, we were married, and I just couldn't wait to become a mum. I was just so desperate to become a mum. So I was like 3 months pregnant at the wedding, and we announced it during the speech. But I can't keep a secret, so all my friends knew already.
Oh, I love that though. What a great way to do it.
Yeah, and it was so funny. He was always joking around. He would always like prank call people, like, do you know, like people still do that.
Big kid.
He did. He was always laughing, always joking, and you could be having like the worst day, and he would just like brighten up a room. And I think that's the thing a lot of people say about suicide. The person that they lost, they would light up a room. They were the happiest person in the room.
Weird, isn't it?
It
And
really,
what does
really
that
is.
say about our society where people have to feel perhaps they have to mask what they're feeling behind this kind of
Absolutely.
extrovert? I don't know. It's a very, very strange phenomenon. So clearly there were no signs that he had any mental health issues at all.
Nothing at
No.
all. He had never been to the doctor in our entire relationship. Like, I felt I was at the doctor every other week with myself, the kids, and he actually got a letter
kids,
from
right.
the doctor where he like where his hometown, and they said, you're still registered here, and you've moved away for 10 years and you're still registered. Like, legally that can't happen. He had never been a doctor, but when you say that, I'm kind of like, well, if he went to a doctor, things might have been different, but he never went to a doctor. And I think that's the thing, because it scares me, because I didn't know there was any sign this would happen. So it scares me that I could lose anybody else to this as well, because I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, because I think I just thought I would know somebody's suicidal, but I didn't. I really, really didn't.
Yeah, and it's that thing, isn't it? Why? How did you not know? How did people not know? But you're not the
Exactly.
only person that this has happened to. A very, very good friend of mine, her child took his own life, and they had absolutely no clue. And again, there was no note, there was no. And I think not that I'm diminishing it when it happens, when there's been a long history of severe mental health crisis,
Yes.
but at least there is a sense of understanding the torment that person will have been in order to get them to that point.
Yes.
But when it comes completely out of the blue, there's just no answers.
No.
So you've got 3 children, haven't you? So how
Yes.
old were your
Yes.
kids around this time?
My oldest, Henry, he was 6. Matthew was 4, and Sophia was 10 months old. So I was on maternity leave. She was just a little baby. And like, it's so sad that I think that he's never seen a birthday. It's just things like that. Like, it's really, really hard.
Do you know what? Same.
So sad.
Monty was 7, Heck was 5, and Tabby was 6 months. Like,
My God,
we were in
so similar
parallel,
ages.
weren't we?
Yeah, it's crazy how similar.
Oh my goodness. And I may not know exactly how you felt, but I know how you felt looking down at those 3 kids and thinking, fuck, it's all on me now. It's all on me.
Just the sheer panic, absolutely.
And are their lives ruined? That's the big one, isn't it?
Yes.
Are their lives ruined?
Yeah,
And
that's all you think about. It's not really you, it's the kids.
exactly that. And they say, about put your own, oxygen mask on, that analogy. But in this situation, you can't, can you? You have to. I mean, I did a fair amount of screaming into a laundry basket out of earshot, because I didn't want them to see that raw pain.
Yeah.
But you have to squash it down a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a woman as well, it's really hard to release anger, because in society you don't get angry women. So I should have done that. I should have screamed at a pillow. I should have got a punching bag. I just kind of let it all sit inside, and it's just, you end up like snapping at people, and it's really, really difficult. It really torments you, definitely.
That's so interesting to hear you say that, because I snapped at people. I stormed out of WhatsApp groups. I lost a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't have contact with some of the people that I cut off back then, because you just become absolutely mercenary.
Yeah, I think that way too. And I think like it reminds you of that kind of vulnerable state that you were in at that time. So sometimes people and places, it takes you back, not to them, it's you at that point, and just how broken you are as well. So I find that really difficult as well, because you're a new person, you're trying to move on, but when you're reminded of how difficult it was for you and the grief, it's difficult.
You're so insightful. I like this.
Thank
this is
you.
very
All that
interesting.
counselling, hopefully it's paid off.
Oh, good old counsellor. So, Lisa, I think if you're comfortable, can you take me back to when it all happened?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, sort of what things were like in the lead up, and just again as much detail as you want.
So it was in 2023 that Alan died, and at the start of the year in January, we went our first kind of holiday as a five to Dubai, and it was really exciting. You know, I was really worried about going abroad with like the three kids and Alan, so I dragged my mum along too, and it was such a lovely time. I came back, and then Alan went away on holiday again. He went to New Orleans. Lucky him, he went with his brother and his friends. They went like every year for Mardi Gras as a special place for them. And then this was the February. So, you know, I just felt, you know, with three kids, so you're just in that routine, maternity leave. And then he came back, and it was just basically normal. He went back to work. I was still working through like the washings of his holiday and things like that. Everything was normal. At the weekends, you know, he was a coach of my son's football team. So the weekend before he died, he took my son to his football game. He then went to see Rangers. We had a family party that night, and it was for my great aunt's 90th. I wasn't well. Like, you know, as a mum, you just have to go on with it. So I was like, right, will I go? And like, this is so bad saying, but like, I actually says to Alan, you know, she's 90. How many more birthdays has she got left? We need to go to this. So we all went, like literally not knowing what was around the corner. That was a Saturday night. And then on the Sunday, I was in my bed floored. I'd asked my mum and his mum to come over and help me. It's funny how when a mum can't work as a mum, they have to get like three people to do your job. He took the kids out to play, just things like that. He went to work a shift at the hospital. Monday was fine. He went to work. I had the kids. I went to the doctor's appointment. I got antibiotics. I had a chest and a kidney infection. On the Tuesdays when he died, and then it was my dad's birthday. Not that there's ever a good time to like do something like this, but I always feel that date, it's like my dad's birthday, and then that's the day Alan died as well. It was just a normal time. And then he went to work. He left that morning. He never came home. I spoke to him throughout the day. And that's the kind of hard part, is the fact that like he never came home. He just left, and that's it. And I think for the kids to process as well that their dad just went to work. And I think for a long time, I'm not sure if the kids were the same. They were terrified if I left the house, thinking I wasn't going to come home. And it can't happen, because how am I ever going to work again? How am I ever going to leave the house? It was so sad. They were really, really traumatized at me leaving to go anywhere. And they were fine if they went to school, but they were just so scared that it's going to happen, because they couldn't process, understand why he never came home.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, that made me go really cold, because I remember it. And I also remember that feeling of being very trapped, because nobody could really help me with the children, because they just wanted me.
That's it. Everybody rallies round and says, right, I'll take the kids to school, I'll take them here. But both boys were like, Mummy, you do it. They wanted me to take them everywhere, and I done it. I just done whatever they wanted me to do. Other things as well. Your kids probably done the same. I had to go to the toilet with them. They wouldn't want to go to the toilet themselves. And then we literally, Sophia was in a cot, but me and the boys slept in our Super King bed for about a year or 2 years after. And that was my marital bed. And about a month ago, I was just like, I need rid of this bed. I don't want it anymore.
You've got a new bed.
I got rid of it, but I've not picked a new one yet. I'm too indecisive. So I've been sleeping in my daughter's bed while she's got a double bed, but I need to actually do it up, and I'm not sure. Like, I'm in the same house, and I've redone it all. I'm redoing it all. I want a fresh start.
I did the same thing.
It's difficult to move. I don't think people realise, widows trying to move house is very, very difficult. And a lot of people ask you, like, are you moving then, thinking you're going to move? But it's difficult, because the kids want the house, they're happy in it. And obviously it's the saddest times in it, but there's a lot of happy times as well. You can't get your house back.
No, I did move in the end. I actually did remarry. We're not together anymore, but we bought a place together. But I can remember being very torn with this move, because it's always going to be the house the police knocked at my door. You know, and that
absolutely.
Yes. So I put a new front door on. I remodeled the back of the house, put a new kitchen. You know, I basically did what we all do, and spent a stupid amount of money on something to try and put a patch over this great gaping hole in my heart.
Absolutely.
But we are actually moving back to the same town, which is, I think I feel ready to do it now. I'll be 8 years in March, and I think it took me this long to be ready.
Congratulations.
Now, Lisa, I'm going to go just back in on this a little bit, if that's okay.
That's fine.
The messages between you during the day, were they just like everyday messages?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Messages. He always phoned me in the morning once kids were in school to check they were in okay. And then I phoned him when I picked my son up from school, because I was worried in case like my son like hit his friend, and he's got autism, and he only at this point had one friend. So I was like, he can't lose the one friend he's got. Yeah. So I phoned him, and he was like, it was just a normal conversation. The last message that I sent him, you know how your Instagram memories, he was a massive Glasgow Rangers fan, and in that day 2 years ago, they won the league for the first time in about 10 years. And then I actually took a screenshot, I sent him that, and I was like, oh, look at this. And he was just like, oh, that's amazing. Like, totally normal messages, normal
It's
phone calls. And
crazy.
it is, but then do you know what I think? I think, see, if I hadn't been unwell, I wonder if my intuition would have been more kind of like, something's off here, something's wrong, he's not normal. And I always think back to that, like, I wasn't well at the time. Maybe that was obviously like meant to happen in a way, kind of thing, so that this could happen and I wouldn't have noticed anything. Because I feel you do have to kind of tell yourself sometimes, like, this is just the way life was meant to be, because otherwise it can just be really like suffocating, like,
Torment
this is
you.
not unfair. Absolutely, absolutely.
You will sort of, poor choice of words with my circumstances, but you'll kind of drown in the what ifs and the maybes
Absolutely.
and the should haves.
Yeah, and I missed a call from him as well before he died, and I felt that really
Oh.
tormented me. And I think that's really, really common. So typically, I'm sure you're the same. It's like my son had the phone, and then he tried to phone, and the battery died. And then when I tried to phone him back, it just rang out. But at this point, he was already dead. So, like, I mean, that really was like, oh my God, if I just got this phone call, could I have changed anything? But I've had to again tell myself, it
Gosh,
just
that is
wasn't meant to
tough.
be. It's hard, and you don't know what he would have said. You know, my mum told me, what if he told you he was going to do it and you couldn't stop him? You need to live with that. It's really,
Yeah.
really difficult. It's difficult, and you have to just let go.
Can I ask? I mean, where did he do it?
The local train station, like our town we lived in. So that
train.
was difficult because he was so close to home, and it's in between the nursery and the school. So I drive past it even now every single day. I really have to like dissociate from it. I have got the train since, and I got the train quite quickly, whereas like my mum will not go
Brave.
anywhere near it, things like that. Because the thing is as well, and you're kind of thinking, will I move town, be closer to like my family? But the thing is, like, the kids were settled. My son with autism, he was in primary 2. He was settled. Would it be really my best interest to move us all? And the thing is as well, like, even starting in a new town, you can't just pretend it never happened. People were still going to know your story. So that's it. So I decided to stay. And the thing is, the police did tell me, they said to me, you know, you feel you're talk of the town right now, but people move on and they'll talk about something else
They
in
do.
a few months. They move on.
They
And it's
do.
like, do you know what I mean? They do. And I don't really feel it anymore. They kind of like everybody looking at you in those early days, just staring
Yeah.
at you, that like not knowing what to say. It's a horrible atmosphere, but it's fine. And I think people say don't make any big decisions the first year or two, because
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking straight. Definitely.
No. I can remember kind of going through the motions of trying to sell my house and then deciding that the cost outweighed it. But Lisa, I'm umming and ahhing about asking this question because it feels so vulgar. But was there any question over the fact that he intended to end his life?
Like whether I believed it was a suicide.
Yeah, like, because
Yes.
was your mind going, no, he was pushed or he tripped or he fell? Like,
You're so right.
bargaining, right? Bargaining.
Yeah, that is so true. And that's exactly what I'd done. Like, he drove to work that day. So when the police said to me, a body's been found at the station, I was like, what are you
Not
talking
him.
about? He never drove to the station. He never drove. He never got the train, sorry. He drove, like, so that. And then, like, you start thinking, like, what was he doing at the station? And I was just kind of thinking, like, I didn't think he fell or tripped because he wasn't meant to be there. But I was just like, did he jump? And then obviously the police at this point, they had eyewitnesses, which is absolutely horrifying. And then they also watched back the CCTV as well to confirm it. And the police said to me that a lot of family, they actually asked to watch the CCTV because they cannot believe that their loved ones would actually jump in front of a train. They cannot believe it. And his dad actually thought he had like a heart attack or something and fell on the track. Like, you cannot believe that someone would do that. And on the death certificate, it doesn't say suicide. It says impact by train. So it's kind of like somebody could really fall. Somebody could have been pushed. It doesn't say suicide. So like, I don't know if that's included in the figures for Scotland, like the suicide figures, because they're really, really bad. Scotland have got the worst figures in the UK. And sometimes I wonder, would the government try and lower the figures to try and make it not as bad? Because the figures are slightly down this year, but not by much.
Gosh. And again, we talked at the beginning about this lack of closure.
Yes.
But you're being told that your husband died one way, but his death certificate is ambiguous at best. Death by impact from train. I mean, I know culturally, sometimes putting suicide on a death certificate, they try not to because of sort of cultural or religious reasons. But I think kind of if you've got the CCTV footage and eyewitnesses, it's, I don't know. How do you feel? Would you have preferred to have suicide on there? Would you prefer the clarity of that?
I was terrified, to be honest with you, because what happens is, I don't know if they do it in England, it's quite different the ways they manage a death. The person, I think it was just from the council actually, she has to phone you and read your death certificate. And I was absolutely terrified because she didn't, she just read it straight and she was like, I'm really sorry, I need to read this to you. And when she said the cause of death, I didn't know what she was going to say. I thought she might have listed the injuries of what he sustained and would have been absolutely horrendous. And do you know as well, like, I just can't imagine what it was like for him, because I never saw his body after, obviously. The police did say, like they said, do not ask to see his body. But I think that if you really wanted to see your loved one's body, I think they actually could. And they kind of had a little leaflet given to me, like, would you call it, like, what happens if someone dies on the rails? And I just couldn't believe there was actually a book about this given to me, because it's so, so common. It's so, so sad. But I was really worried. And when she just said impact by train, I felt it was kind of just trying to sum up the injuries, because I just but I just couldn't really make sense of it at all. And I think at the time I was really scared of telling the kids that it was a suicide. And I've heard stories of people finding their loved one's certificate and it's suicide on it and they didn't know it was a suicide. So things like that as well. So I've got a death certificate and I do feel that it maybe should have had suicide on it, just because obviously the pathologist in post-mortem, they don't know it's a suicide. That's the thing as well. And they write the report, that's it as well. But like for a while, I felt that, like, I don't know if you felt this way as well, really dissociated, as if like it didn't really happen. I tried EMDR, it didn't help. And they said in the end, they were like, your brain has dissociated from this. And I was like, well, I want to associate with this and I want to move forward from it. So part of me was actually going to like request a post-mortem just to read through it. And I've got a medical background, my dentist, but so I wouldn't get all of it, but I'd maybe to be able to make sense some of it. That's genuinely at one point what I was going to do.
Well, look at the coroner's report.
Ooh. Yeah, I know. But then I went on that widowed and young, and see, in England, they actually just send you it. And a lot of people say they get this letter, start reading it, not realising post-mortem, and they said that they are absolutely traumatised from like the first few lines. Even if somebody hung themselves, the medical terminology is just so graphic. So I made the decision not to look at it, and I don't think I ever will, because it would be traumatising, and I've probably just caused more trauma to already trauma kind of thing.
And I think becomes a point where you have to think, what good will this do me?
Yeah. You're just kind of putting yourself in more suffering, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if my brain doesn't want to associate with it, then that's it. You just have to go, like, move forward in your own way.
How did you find out?
Police came to the door.
The door knock.
Yeah, the door knock.
Talk me through that.
That out of the whole experience, the police at the door is by far the most horrific. That was the most traumatising out of the whole
moment
thing.
Everything changes, right?
Absolutely. Even going to see his coffin in the funeral home, even the funeral, nothing will kind of top that knock at the door. And at the time, I was upstairs with 3 kids putting them to their bed. My mum was staying and she wasn't actually meant to be staying. What happened was because I wasn't well, I just asked her, I was like, Mum, do you want to stay another night? And basically, I usually have a cleaner on the Wednesday that comes every second Wednesday. Sam normally comes. And I had actually texted her that night, being like, you know what, I'm not actually feeling well, Sam, so it's okay just to cancel tomorrow. And I would never, ever cancel her, because she's self-employed. I still paid her, but she done such a good job cleaning as well. So it's like, I didn't want to cancel my kids, right? The 3 kids did directly. So I would never cancel her. And then my mum was meant to be there. And when I got a knock at the door, I thought it was Alan. And then usually he would just open it and the little chain would be on. So I tear the door latch, but the chain never went. So I was like, oh, that's weird. The chain hasn't went. And then my mum went and got the door. I was upstairs with the kids in my bed. And then my mum's dog was there and Alfie was going mental. And I was like, why is he barking? Has Alan brought somebody home with him? Like, why? What is going on here? And then my mum, she came up the stairs and she just basically came in the door really slowly. And she was kind of like, I could tell she was really distressed, and she was like, Lisa, you need to come downstairs, like, don't panic. And obviously someone says don't panic, you start panicking. You do. And so she then swapped places with me and sat in the bed with the kids. Sophia was sleeping, Matthew was sleeping, but my oldest son was still awake. It was around 8 o'clock. And then I went downstairs, but I've got a gallery landing in my house. So when I kind of came out my bedroom door, the first thing I saw was 2 police officers, and I will never forget the looks on their faces. It is the most serious, stern, concerned looks I've ever seen. And the 2 of them just looked up at me. And as soon as I started walking around, I was like, why are you here? Why are you here? And because my mum was there, my mum, obviously, I've got a dad, but he works in Aberdeen, which is further north than here. I thought something happened to him because my mum was there and that was the next of kin. So I was just like, something happened to my dad. But I think that you're almost like thinking like, no, you can't actually think
Bargaining.
something's happened to your husband, you're bargaining. And I came down the stairs and they said, you need to have a wee seat. But I didn't want to sit down. I was just pacing about, like, why are you here? What's happening? I started actually realising Alan's not home yet. Where is Alan? And that's when I started asking questions and they sat me down and just said to me, there's been a body discovered at Lindsay train station. And I was just like, oh my God. And I felt the floor, like I couldn't hear anything. And it was just like, I couldn't speak and I could barely breathe. It was like your stomach falls, your heart shipped out, the wind's taken right out of you. And like you go into that fight or flight. And I've never felt that way before. It's almost like you could run a marathon because you've got so much energy running through you and you're just in absolute like state of shock. And it's difficult because it's like I feel my nervous system, and you're probably the same, is just so dysregulated now. And any stress at all sends you straight back into that kind of fight or flight. And it's difficult. It's so difficult. So that was the night the police came, and it was just, that is just the most traumatic thing ever. And the worst thing was my son was like trying to come down the stairs to get me and heard me like crying, and he heard the police talking about a train, like the women police officers trying to hold him back. My mum was trying to hold him back. It was just absolutely horrendous. You're trying to hold it together. I know. And then you're just kind of like, I can't believe this. And then I had to phone his mum and then his brother as well. And then like I couldn't speak to his mum. I had to give the phone to the police officer because I don't, you're probably the same. Saying this out loud, people like, Alan's dead.
Makes it real, right?
It does, absolutely.
It's and I'm, for regular listeners, I hope I'm not being repetitive, but the parallels with my story. So I was just finished bathing the children, and I had my baby in my arms. Boys were upstairs watching TV in bed, and that it was that moment. My dog was barking, going nuts. I thought it was Ben coming home. Put the dog to one side, in the living room, and by the time I'd come back into the hallway, I could see that it was uniformed officers. And I've watched enough BBC dramas to know that they don't come bearing good news.
No.
And like you, I thought he'd been, it must be a car accident. There's, and then you've got to try and protect the children from the immediacy of what's happening while you process it a bit. What did you do? How did you manage your eldest son? I mean, what happened next?
I couldn't tell him that he died that night. I just couldn't. I didn't know how to tell him that he died. So my eldest son was only awake. So when I went back up the stairs, I just said, Daddy's been in an accident on the train and he's in hospital right now. And so he was just like, okay, that's fine. And I think children, they know so much more than what we think. So I think he must have known deep down something was wrong. But I phoned the school the next morning and I told him it was Alan at the train station that night, the head teacher, and I sent him into school. And to think that the teachers that knew that he had died before they died, like it was just so bad. But they went to school nursery the next day, and they had to because the police were coming back. They're in the house every day for like a month. It was absolutely horrendous. You're trying to get your head together. And then I just messaged the Reverend and I just said, I don't know how to tell my kids that Dad's not coming home. And she was amazing, Louise. She came to the house immediately. She came away straight away, and she was very much like, sat with me until they came home from school, and then said that you just need to tell them directly that Daddy's dead. Don't use any kind of like Daddy's sleeping or anything like that. Like, you need to say he's dead, he's not coming home. Make it really loud and clear. My mum and his mum were there as well. And I think that if I could go back in time, I think I would have just told them by myself, because having like almost like that like chaos, everybody around you grieving, it was just like, obviously you do things then in the moment, but if I go back, I would have just told them myself. And I was expecting this big huge reaction, but my 4-year-old was kind of just like, he couldn't process it. He went back to play and he was just like, okay. And my 6-year-old, like some of the things that he was asking, he was just like really literal. Sorry, Rosie, my mic's went. Can you still,
I can hear you great.
Can you hear me great now? Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, that's fine.
Yep, you're all good.
Perfect. Sorry.
No, because I'm nodding my head off because my boys, I told them together. Obviously, my daughter was funny. I had 2 boys and a girl as well. My eldest let out this kind of noise that you know the noise, right? The noise.
It's an animal.
And Hector, who is autistic, he looked at his brother and kind of mimicked what he was doing, but you could really tell that it hadn't quite registered, or he hadn't been able, or he wasn't able to process it. And then I kind of pulled myself together, came downstairs, and the pair of them are waving Harry Potter ones about like nothing's bloody happened.
Yeah,
and I was
exactly.
like, why have I raised little psychopaths? Why don't you care? And this is why this stuff is so important, because I thought there was something wrong with my kids, right?
Yeah,
and then people talk about the muddy puddles and them jumping in and out of their grief. And now it makes so much sense to me. And I think somebody needs to tell fresh widows this. Like, it should be one of the first things we get told, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And my son, who's autistic, he was literal. So he was asking questions like, can you get remarried again? Will I get a new daddy? He was
Yeah,
asking
yeah, yeah,
questions
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And he was like, what happened to daddy's body? Like asking literal questions.
Yes.
And then he never actually cried about his dad's death until 6 months later as well. And
Oh,
when he cried, it was like, I just thought something happened to school at this point. But he cried and he just couldn't stop. He just let it all out because he struggles obviously with autism, processing emotions. And then my younger son, who was 4 at the time, he would go to bed every night like, where's daddy? Is he working? And then like when
oh,
his brother is so blunt with him, like he's dead, he's not coming home. He would then like cry, and it would be like this cry. It was like a distressed animal. I've never heard him cry like that before.
oh.
And I would be, I don't know, but you'd probably say to the thing, you're like, oh, daddy, like he's a star now. And then he's like, why is he not talking back to me like that? It's just like awful.
It's
It's
a
so sad.
minefield, and I think
Absolutely.
actually there isn't much support for neurodivergent children
No.
because so much of
No.
it is around metaphors and
Yeah.
they're a star, they're always with you. Well, where
Yeah.
are they? Where I can't see him,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
oh, maybe there's a book in it. Maybe we team up on that one. But I think it's hard enough to communicate a loss of
Yes.
this magnitude to a child who is neurotypical, but to
Yeah.
throw in some additional needs as well.
Yes.
And interesting, my son, he let out an enormous amount of emotion about 6 months ago, and that's 7 years in, but it had
Yeah, it's
obviously just
something I
sat
feel that they're
there.
going to have their whole life. Maybe
Yeah.
teenagers, they might need counselling and things like that. Absolutely.
Exactly. You know that you're going to just have a little eye out on them. I will just tell you, this is not related to the interview, but I'm saying it now because I'll forget. Hector Access is a company called Mind Jam, which do kind of online mentoring, but they get to play computer games together. So it's
Oh,
all done from
wow.
home, and it's been
Amazing.
absolutely revolutionary. So I'm going to,
Oh,
I might put a drop a thing in the show notes on it as well because
perfect.
they're amazing. I've actually
Yeah.
interviewed them. Anyway, right, back on topic. The kids. Okay,
Yeah.
so the kids are, what are they? They're 6, 4, and 10 months.
Mhm.
So their understanding of death is presumably quite limited.
Yeah.
We all know it's in Disney films as the worst possible thing that can happen to a child, etc.
Absolutely.
You told the boys that he's died.
Mhm.
Obviously, your daughter is not going to be able to understand this, but
No.
much like mine, I imagine they just grow up with this understanding that their dad isn't here, and it's
Yeah.
fucking tragic, and I hate it, but it is what it is. When did you decide to tell them that Alan had taken his life?
It wasn't until about 2 years in, Rosie.
Yeah.
And
No,
it
I
was
understand.
absolutely. And it's one of these things that it was like, it was always in the back of my mind. I was always worried that maybe somebody in the school
Really
might say like
hanging
an
over
older
you.
kid, especially my oldest, because he's so smart and so literal with autism, that I thought that as soon as he clicks about suicide, then that's it. Like he would find out. And I went to a suicide bereavement group, and some of the people going were children at the time, they're now adults. And they were the same, like nobody told them until much later on, and they felt quite resentful. They felt that they were lied to. They said they have huge trust issues with their surviving parent because they never told them. Some of them found notes, some of them found death certificate, and they were just like, I can't believe this. Some of them Googled their dad's name and they found it online, like in the news and things like that. So it was 2 years in, and it was completely unplanned. I never planned on telling them. So Henry and Matthew at this point were 6.5 and 8.5. And I'd went to a grief group that Lisa Haig runs. She's in England, but she comes up to Scotland and does grief support groups. She had a stillborn 17 years ago, and she's just absolutely amazing. And she ran a holistic kind of night for families that had lost somebody. So it involved a sound bath. And it's so funny because my son with autism was absolutely terrified. Like he was so overwhelmed by all the noise. I don't know if you've ever done a sound bath, Rosie.
I
But he
had
was
to
just so
leave a sound
overwhelmed by
bath
all
not
the
that long
noise.
ago. I can relate to him.
He did, and then the two of them, like they couldn't sit still. All these families around me, they were just sitting there relaxed, sleeping, eye masks on. Mines were like jumping about, like I need a pee, I need a pee. I was like, oh my god. So Lisa actually took my boys out and actually just spoke to them about their dad, and I couldn't believe how much they actually spoke about their dad to Lisa, because I hadn't really spoken about their dad to them at all since he had died. I was very wary and upsetting them and things. So on the way home, like after, and they had like a little play with the kids as well, which was lovely. And Lisa let them go round the bells and the sounds, and they loved that. That was so funny. But then when on the drive home, like my eldest son said to me, he was just like, I wish Daddy never had a phone. And I was like, why? And he was like, well, that's how he died. He was checking his phone and tripped in the track. But that's something that his
He's
friend
made that
told him.
up.
No,
Oh,
one
his
of his
friend
friends,
told him.
one of his friend told him. Like again, his friend friend with autism, like they all club together. They do.
Of course, yeah.
They do.
Your vibe
So,
attracts your
I know,
tribe.
definitely. But one day, it was actually a few months after he died, his friend was like, we got ice cream and next to the station, he was like, I want to go to train station and watch the trains. And this was maybe the June he died in March. And I was like, oh my God. And the wee friend's dad was like that, looking at me. And I was like, you know what? It's fine, let's go. And once I seen the first high-speed train past, it was really weird. But then I was just like, the kids are having a nice time, not associating with their dad. But the friend turned around and said, remember your dad died here, Henry? He was probably looking at his phone, he tripped and fell on the track. And that is what he believed. And the poor dad's face was like, oh my God.
Oh
And I
my
got
God.
this huge text from the mum, like they were so upset. But then that's kids. That is just kids.
It
It
is.
And that's what he believed. And when he told me that, I was like, I can't lie to him. I can't have him thinking that this is what happened. He's 8 years old now. His brother was in the car too. And I just said, do you understand that about suicide? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, some people want to kill themselves and end their lives. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, that's actually what Daddy done. He intentionally jumped. And I made it very clear, like very the language I used. And he was just like, he was really upset. He was really like, but why? Why did you do that? I didn't know
Why?
that. Like, why?
And you
So
can't answer.
you can't. And then my youngest son, I don't think he fully grasped it yet, but I feel that the conversation is now there for him though, if he wants to ask questions and things,
Yeah.
because they will come up. And weirdly, after he died, like, because obviously I said that he was sick on a train, maybe like 4 or 5 months after, my oldest son just hit out one day, was like, was Daddy hit by a train? I think they just know. They just know. Like, they know so much more than you think.
And they pick up on so much.
Yes.
I'm also thinking as well, like in your bid to protect your children by
Yes.
not talking about it,
Mhm.
you will have inadvertently kind of gagged, for want of a better word, yourself, because you'll have had to watch everything you're saying. You'll have had to watch any
Absolutely.
conversations they might be privy
Yes.
to. And
Yes.
that must have a very difficult conversation. No, I would never
Yeah.
dream of disputing that. My God, yeah, awful. But afterwards, you know how like when you're worried about something happening and then it happens and it's kind of done, right? Did you have almost like a weight has been lifted off you because you haven't got to run from this secret anymore?
Yeah, it's almost like you're kind of set free in a way because you don't realise how heavy the weight is. That's
Yeah.
exactly how I felt. And once I told them, it was really, really hard. But the next day, I was just like, they know, and I don't need to worry about anybody else telling them. And
Yeah.
when I phoned to school and told them, the deputy head was like, you know what, I think that's the good thing, because then you don't need to worry about them finding out or somebody else. But honestly, like, I think as a parent, and you'll know this yourself, your decisions, you need to make decisions, and you'll have a lot of noise from like grandparents telling you what you should be doing. And when I told one of the grandparents what I did, she wasn't happy, and she said, why did you do that, like really angrily? And I was like, I didn't want to do any of this.
Because it's
Like,
the truth.
it's the truth. And I was like, they're old enough to know. And I feel a lot of family, they will want to cover it up, they will want to not talk about it, and like that's just the way they deal with it.
Yeah, you've taught yourself about the children who have now grown up and the anger they feel. I mean, it's not the same. But when the police came to my house, my eldest wanted to know. He's called Monty. He wanted to know why the police. Obviously, he did.
Yes.
And I said, just again, you make it. I went, oh, it's about the dog.
Yeah.
The dog who's never done a thing wrong in her life. And he then had some therapy through school, and it came out, that he felt that I'd broken his trust, and that this one, in my mind, white lie. And I'm so glad that I then was able to tell them. And I think it is all about timing. If you tell a 4-year-old that their dad has killed himself, they're not really going to be able to understand that. You need to give them time to have that kind of cognitive ability, really.
Absolutely.
And for you to prepare for the barrage of questions. Did you get more questions? Yes. Yeah. My favourite one I get is, was he eaten by a shark? Probably not in the channel, no.
Yeah, and I feel the questions, it's a lifetime of questions. It's not just a couple of weeks after, and it's your whole life you have to face questions, and it's the most random time. And obviously the biggest one was why, and you just can't answer that. And that's something I think as they get older they become more aware of.
And I think there is something, when you're widowed and it's not a complex death, it might be a terrible, shocking, horrific death, but you can say to your children, oh, well, dad didn't choose, or mum didn't choose, or whoever it might be. Yeah. This is very difficult because no, he didn't choose, because there was obviously something going on far greater than what you see.
Yes.
But how on earth can you explain that to a child? And that must be a really, really tough one with your kids.
It's difficult because for a long, long time, and sometimes I still feel this way, you feel that like Alan made the choice to end his life. But when I said that to one of his friends, one of his friends turned around, other people will say this as well. When you take your own life, you're not making a choice. There is no choice.
No.
That is the
All
only choice that
rationale
they
is
have.
gone.
They have, but then I think that for the start, I felt like he did make a choice, and I feel the kids will kind of feel that way as well, that he made a choice himself to end his life. And it's difficult because, like me, they never seen anything wrong. He was happy. He was a dad. They didn't see anything wrong either. So it's not as if like he spent a lot of his life sad. He wasn't sad at all. He lived his life to the full. So they'll feel the same as me.
There's no reason, and that's
No.
really, really difficult
Yeah.
to accept.
Yeah.
So obviously you've said that there was no note or anything.
Yes.
I mean, you must have looked everywhere, right? No stone unturned.
Nothing was unturned, and whole
I can
wardrobe
imagine
was
like the
just,
wildness of
yeah.
it.
Yeah, literally all the pockets, ransacked everywhere, every drawer, every bit of clothing. I asked my friend to check everywhere in his work. The police searched the car that night. I kept asking them, can you research it? Can you research it? But there was just nothing. And I think there was one point a few days later, I was just in a big pile of his clothes. And Mum came in, I was just like crying, like, I've not got a note here. Like, he's left without saying goodbye.
Oh, and do you know what? Right. And I can say this because I'm not in the middle of it, but I'm guessing you felt it too. A bit of anger.
Oh,
A lot of anger. Let's be honest. A lot of anger.
Yeah, definitely. But do you know what? It was never anger at leaving me. It was leaving the children.
And why couldn't you
That's
just have talked to me? That, you know, the frustration.
The frustration, because you kind of feel that a suicide is preventable, and obviously it is preventable because there's people that attempt and then they don't attempt again. They live full and happy lives. So you feel that I didn't know, I didn't have a chance to help. I could have helped, but I think what I've learned as well is the person has to help themselves. And the Alan would never have asked for help. He was very much like a man's man, quite tough on the outside, never really showed much emotion, never really seen him cry. So I just felt he would never have reached out for help, ever.
And you're right, you can't help somebody. And I think that's one of the things that it's like anything, like addiction even. And, you know, you can't tell somebody to stop. They have to come to that conclusion themselves.
Yes.
And I think you can, I've had guests on who have physically sat in a room with people. They've left very briefly and they've done it. Because
obviously Caroline Flack, a split second like her. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
And you can't watch somebody 24/7. They're not prisoners. But the frustration of not knowing why. How did you, if you have, I mean, it's still pretty early days for you, but how did you, or are you coming to terms with the not knowing?
I feel you have to make peace with it. And I think me as a person, I like to know everything. I'm quite like, I want a plan for everything. I want to know why things happen. I think kids as well are quite inquisitive. So it's just human nature to want to know why. But I think when you have a suicide death, you're never going to get the why, or even if you think that you do, even if you have a note, you're never going to know the full story because that person's dead and that's it. The only person can give you the answers is dead. Nobody else can. So I think that you have to just try and make peace with the not knowing. And it's difficult, but you're never going to know. And you can spend a few years like kind of wallowing, but people can spend 50 years still, you know, going round in circles. And it's not healthy and it really will kind of consume you and it's not good for your brain. So I feel like you have to make peace, and kind of thing I've kind of said to my children as well is that Daddy died because he never asked for help. So it's really important for them to ask for help and always speak about how they're feeling, especially for boys as well, because it's a really, really sad statistic. But kids that have lost a parent to suicide, they're 25% more likely to become suicidal in the future themselves, which is really, really scary, but definitely.
Yeah, that's really scary. And I think to look at your children and know that that percentage is almost kind of hanging above their heads, you know, but I suppose the difference is that you know that there's a higher percentage, that you know, and you know, we also know that there's a higher link with autism and suicidal ideation. But by knowing, you know, and creating that dialogue of communication and the fact that the elephant in the room happened, the worst possible thing happened, you've kind of no alternative but to talk about it as a family, have you?
Yeah, absolutely. So no, I think that's so true as well, that almost like not like you can prevent a suicide, but you can offer counselling.
You can do your best, right?
Absolutely, you can do your best, and always kind of like be aware that, you know, it happened with their dad, and if there's any time they're struggling, just make sure they get help, definitely.
the kids, I mean, like, I don't want you to sort of reveal too much about your kids, but I'm
Okay.
thinking of your eldest. Did he get
Yeah.
angry? Has he got angry
Yes.
over it?
So he, like I said, he never cried at the beginning, but
Mm.
when he, like the aftermath, a few weeks, there was one time I picked him up from school and he asked me that morning to bring his scooter, but obviously my head was all over the place and I forgot it. And he just walked out of the school and he started hitting me, and it was right in front of all the other parents
Oh,
and the
always
deputy
is.
seen it, but it wasn't it. But the thing is, I was just like, no wonder he was feeling absolutely so emotional. And he would come home and he would really get angry and frustrated at the tiniest little thing. And like I remember, like I've got a playroom and he would just like throw things about. But do you know what? Like I let him, because I was like, that is him releasing his emotions, and that this is a safe space. He needs to kind of express emotion somehow. So I let him do that. And I'm glad to say now that he doesn't do things like that. And he's a lot more like, if he kind of gets angry at stuff, he'll come round and say, I'm really sorry about that. And I think that, if like MD's listening, that their kids are going through a hard time, there hopefully is a bit of light in the tunnel, and it's not going to be like, oh, this is going to be
Yeah.
smooth sailing, because it will be up and down, especially with boys, especially with autism, especially with puberty, being teenagers, that's going to all come into play as well. So it's not going to be like straight sailing, but definitely there is like happy times as well, and they seem like well-rounded kids, and I'm sure yours do too.
Yeah, they do. And I'll be honest with you, 6 months, a year in, I was really worried. My middle
Yes.
son like I said, he struggled to process the grief. He was
Hmm.
struggling to access school. He was being
Yes.
sent home for throwing chair, things like you think, oh, well, not my child, surely. And
Yes.
I just didn't know what to do with it. I at the
Uh-huh.
time, I don't think I fully appreciated how trauma is. We talked ourselves earlier about our
Hmm.
kind of reactionary behavior, well, fuck you, leave the WhatsApp group, cut
Absolutely.
people off.
Yeah.
And we're grown-ups, right? So for
Yes.
the
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I should say this, I'm going to anyway, but one of mine, I won't disclose which, did say to me they wished I had died instead of their dad.
Do you know what?
That
I'm
was a
waiting
low
that to say
point.
too. I am waiting in mine saying that too. I am, because every single widow says they've had that. I think that's a normal thing. I really,
Lucky.
really do.
I think
Definitely.
I said at the time, me too,
I know.
because
Yeah,
at the time I
definitely.
think it felt like he'd got the easier end of the deal.
I know. And see, like mine's always say, like if I was running late doing the school run, my youngest son Matthew would always say, if we had a daddy, then we'd be in time. And I'm like, no,
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
wouldn't. We'd still be
No, they
late,
wouldn't do anything
definitely.
anyway. Don't be ridiculous.
No, I know.
I wanted to talk to you as well, because you're quite vocal on your
Yeah.
social media about the
Yeah.
difference between a single mother and a solo parent, because it
Yes.
could be either
Yes.
of us.
Yes.
How do you find that kind of lack of understanding? Because I get it, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that, oh well, I understand because I'm divorced, and you're thinking, okay, well, did your kids have to attend their dad's funeral? Do you have to have them
Absolutely.
24 hours a day,
Yeah.
7 days a week? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
different. And I don't want to woman
It
bash,
is.
because
Yeah.
being a single parent in any circumstances is tough. But a
Yeah.
solo parent, that's a different ball game, right?
You're so right. And there's a family member that actually said to me, who was divorced, I remember being in your situation, and I was just like, sorry, what? What? Like, I mean, this
Bloody
was
hell.
the situation.
God, you
But
can't even
I
cut
think,
out a family member.
I know, definitely. But I think that people, like, when I always went for a hard time, you did, they project their own kind of grief and
And they're
traumas
trying to
onto
find a
you as well.
connection, aren't they? But
Absolutely.
most people don't do
Yeah.
it with the best of
Yeah.
hearts.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, see, at the time, I would be really offended if anyone divorced would try and compare my situation. And it's funny because I said to a neighbour, I was like, I'm the only single parent in that classroom now. And he's a single parent, but his kids are older than mine. And he actually said, he was like, oh, don't worry. By the time you're in high school, half the parents were separated. So don't worry at all. That'll come. And, he's sure there's more and more separating. But,
It's
like,
true.
it would. But then I think, like, that's the thing. People do try and compare it. But see now, like, I'm 33, so a few of my friends are now kind of separating from their partners. And I do actually really relate to them. And it's difficult because I actually, at the time, I really resented divorced people, because I felt,
Every other
even.
weekend off.
But it kind of was like, I was struggling at the start. You're right. It was like, I just want like a break. They have that childhood time.
Mm.
But then as well, it was having that other person there that loved them as much as you did. And even
That's what I
though
struggle
they
with.
weren't together, they could still ask for advice. I really resented that. And
Yeah.
as well as the kind of happy families. But see, now I'm actually like, you know what? I don't want child-free time at all. And I actually feel sorry for my friends that have got the kind of 50-50 split, because they don't want that. That's just a situation that they have to deal with and try and make the best time. And you'll see mums like kind of out the weekend, like, oh, dad's got the kids this weekend, like kind of living up, but they don't have a
The
choice in
pressure.
that. they don't have a choice in kind of that. And I want my kids all the time. And obviously I didn't choose to be like a full-time solo mum, but like I kind of am like, well, you know what, I don't want a break from my kids. I want them all the time, and that's it. So I do relate. And I think when someone was divorced, they're grieving that future they envisioned as well. They have the same kind of difficulties, you know, in new relationships as things as well. But no, you're right. I feel like I am a solo parent, and there's an account that I follow. I don't know if you follow it. It's like an American dad who says the solo dad. So
I will now.
you will now. So I love his account. It's about cleaning. He's got 3 kids, but for a long, long time I followed him, and I thought that he was a solo dad and he had these 3 kids by himself. But what it actually is him and his wife work in hospital and they work alternate shifts. So that he just calls himself that as his name, but it's because when he's got the kids, he's by himself, so they're never really together. But I think a lot of people, then they'll say to you as well, like my friends, if the husband goes away and things like that, or they're back working, they're
Don't
also
be giving me
like,
golf, widow.
yeah, exactly. But they're like, I don't know how you do it because I can't cope with this one day my husband's away, definitely. But you just do it. You do. You have no choice.
You haven't got a
definitely.
choice. And that's
Yeah.
the thing, you know, when you're at 3 o'clock, I hit the wall and I will
Yes.
try and go and lay on the bed for 15 minutes if I can. And you're just thinking, is this it? Is this my break? This 30 minutes, look, I've added another 15 on, break lying on my bed. And you do feel like you just want a break. But I'm like you, if I get a break from my kids, I miss the little bastards.
Exactly. And when I come back from the school run and nobody's there, I don't like that silence. I really don't. I'm just like, oh my goodness. So I'm
Can
always
always take a leaf out of my book and homeschool.
You know what, as well, I actually see a lot of widows and they're actually homeschooling, and a lot of it's because the children can't attend school
Attachment.
because of anxiety. And like my kids, the one, my hen who's autistic, he was very much not a rule breaker. He follows the rules, so he just felt like he had to be in school. And it's something I've always been quite kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to school, so they went to school the next day and that's it.
Oh,
But you
mine
just
were in
never,
pretty quick as well.
yeah, but you never know because like yourself, you could do the third in line, they might need homeschool, you just don't know. Exactly.
And that's the thing. At the moment, it's what she needs. I don't think I'll be
Absolutely.
doing it forever. I just think I do her a disservice, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to work around her, trying to clean the house. Thank God we're not filming in my house because it's a state. I'm in the annex. But I think I could do the next year. So I think she
Yes.
could go into year 4, and I reckon I can fill the gaps enough for each. She's a bright kid, and I've got some
Yes.
online lessons. So
Yeah.
and that's the other thing. You kind of lose that. For a long time, I had this real, I need to be the best. I need to be the best mum because I haven't got a
Absolutely.
dad.
Yes.
Like trips to, you know, I took him to Lapland. You've been to
Me
Lapland.
too.
You spent a
Yeah.
fucking bomb, and he had
Yes,
a
I
fake
was.
beard. Oh, I was angry. But you do all
Absolutely.
these things. You must have the most amazing birth, and you put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yes.
But I also cared a lot about what people thought of me, and I think
Yes.
I didn't want to be
Yes.
judged. And now I'm a bit like,
Yes.
not completely, but I'm getting to that point of fuck it, like they're my
Yeah,
kids. I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because when I done my EMDR, the girl followed me on my Instagram, not my widow diaries, but my personal one. And when I said to her, like, I'm a widow, she was like, wait, you're a widow? And she was like, scroll from Instagram, like, where in this page are you a widow? Like, because all I see is like holidays with your kids, like nights out, like you're just living this, portraying this life that you're really, really, really happy.
Because that's still
it was-
you.
Exactly, but it's like, it's almost like I felt like I had to be doing that to show people that no, I'm back on my feet again, I'm doing great, I'm this and that. When in reality, you know, you'd post a picture going out and then come home and cry your eyes out. You just like, that's it, that is what the reality of being a widow is. So
Or
it's
that
quite
night, I'd have drunk 2-3 bottles of wine, you know, made a pass at somebody inappropriate, come home, couldn't remember. That, you know, it wasn't the glamour and the glitter that I like to portray it was.
Absolutely, it was. And I just like, I hated people feeling sorry for me. I hated that head tilt. I
Sympathy.
hated everything. So like something very, very unhinged that I'd done. It was maybe like 2 or 3 months after he died. Like my kids, they loved Teslas. They watched like YouTube American, like Mr. Beast and all that, and they always loved Teslas. And before Alan died, I was like, we were going to get like a 7-seater car because we had the 3 kids, and I was just like, F this. And I went and I got a Tesla. Actually,
Good
I've
on
still
you.
got it. I've still got it. But I was genuinely like, what have I done here? I just wasn't thinking straight at all. I was
No.
not thinking. I should have went and drove instead of the Tesla garage, going to Kingston. That would have been a lot better. But
Do you know what,
it's emotional
though?
spending.
Did it make you happy at the time? Did the boys love it? Did it put a
They
smile
lo-
on their face?
They loved it at the time, but the thing is, like with anything with kids, the novelty wears off.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It wears off. They do.
Even I got mine a bloody dog, the novelty award off. Do you think anybody walks that thing apart from me? No. Funnily enough, Hector has a poster on his wall, and it's the evolution of Teslas. He, not so much now,
It's so
but he
funny,
was
yes,
a massive fan.
Yeah, I feel
funny,
like
aren't
mine, It's funny, but I think it's because they love Elon Musk too, and he's autistic too, so I think it's
Yeah,
because of
Hector
that.
did a presentation on him. I was like, are you sure you want to do it on Elon Musk? Here you go. But that's supporting our children in their interests, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I do think that need to sprinkle magic on their lives. I think I can't imagine I'll ever stop that, to be honest with you. I had to scale back the spending a little bit.
That's me as well, definitely, because that's the thing. You can't live your life like that the whole way. You'll have no money. That's it, definitely.
And also, you sort of don't want them to grow up
spoiled
view. Yeah, because that's you sort of don't want to go too far the other way. It's a really tough balance.
Absolutely, because you're constantly overcompensating.
Yeah.
I remember the first Christmas after, it was just that picture people put up, loads of presents, loads of stuff they never asked for. My son got a Switch as part of the kind of present, and he was like, I never asked for this, I don't want this. Like, and I was just like, I was actually just like, I just really showed it up. And you can get them as much stuff as you want for Christmas, but they're back in the iPads 10 seconds later as if nothing happened. So
exactly.
I think that's it. It's a fine line between, you know, like making their childhood magical, but just not going overboard, because you can't go to Lapland every year. You can't go to Disneyland every year. That's a thing, definitely.
I've done both of those.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. But you know what? I took two of them. No, not because I only like two of them, but because one was on a school trip. So I took two of them to Magaluf for 3 nights earlier this year. It was a dump. It was a shithole. But we had a great time. And I think, you know what?
Caravan?
Yeah, well, we went camping. This summer, first time. And I loved it to the point that when my house sells... No, I'm not going to buy a camper van, no. No, not buy a camper van. You haven't even driven a camper van. I might buy a big tent. There we go. I might buy a tent.
But no, you're right. They're happy with simple things, and that's it. It's the time that matters, and they're happy just going weekdays out and things like that. So that's it. It's definitely made me kind of realise what actually makes them happy, and it's not all the kind of material things. It's just spending time together. Definitely.
Sometimes it's just a Sunday indoors on their iPads. Yes. Like, you know, sometimes that's all my kids want to do. And I think, why am I fighting you? I'm like, I don't want to go out.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. So listen, just before I finish, I want to just ask you, because you've alluded to some therapy. So what, EMDR not for you, right? No, I tried it once, wasn't for me, but I'd like to have another go with a different practitioner.
Mm-hmm. My practitioner was brilliant, and I think EMDR, it's almost like the creme de la creme of counselling, and people say it's life-changing. So I went into it basically thinking, I'm going to be fixed, I'm going to get back to work, I'm going to be that person I was before, and it just didn't happen for me. So I think it's important to try these things, but one size doesn't fit all. I see a counsellor in the NHS room with yourself, you get 6 sessions and that's it. And the times they were giving me, it was really specific. The kids had like holidays and things, I couldn't do it. So I have a counsellor, and it's more kind of CBT based, and even just go and talk to somebody, and I see her once a month. But I think it's really important, because I didn't want to go on medication, and I'm not saying to him to don't go medication. You've got to do what you've got to do to get through this. There's no med at the end of it. But I was really scared of taking medication. I was really scared. And a lot of people that I've spoken to that have lost loved ones to suicide, the people that have lost at the time, they were on antidepressants and anxiety. So I'm like, why is this not working? So I feel quite strongly like I didn't want to take any. If it doesn't mean I might not need it in the future.
No, but you again, you do what you need to in the moment. Funnily enough, my counsellor, when you were saying about EMDR, because I've been with, it'll be 4 years this year, the money I've spent on this woman, she's probably had an extension off me. But she's brilliant. And that once a week, it's sacred, because yes, I've got friends, I've got my parents, but I'll be honest, do my friends still want to hear me wanging on about my grief nearly 8 years down the line? They'd say yes, but in all honesty, I feel like I need this place where I can kind of unashamedly offload, and it might, stuff that you feel you couldn't bring to your friends because it's so pathetic, but you can offload there. But she said to me, be careful of the EMDR, because I know what you want to do. You want to fast forward through this. And I'm like, well, obviously, yes. And I think it's something I would like to do, but I think I need to get to a point where I'm ready. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I felt that way too, that I wasn't ready at the time. And it could be another 5 years down the line you want to do it. So I think that's so important as well. And I think as well what you're saying about like offloading to people, because like all my friends, they're at stages, they're all getting married, having babies. I don't want to sit in like in a group chat and be like, Debbie Downer, exactly. You want to be, and also I think you want to be involved with all the happy stuff as well, because it'll lift you up as well, definitely.
You do. Yeah, you're not anti-celebration because you're widowed. Yeah, I get that. What about spiritual stuff like mediums? Have you been tempted to do a bit of that?
I've done a lot of that, and I think
a lot of
people, because when you're like a suicide, you hope that you get the answers
Of
from a
course.
medium as well. So the first medium that I went to, she wasn't actually a medium, she was a Reiki practitioner, but she doesn't actually advertise that she speaks to the dead, because obviously people go in and they're really hoping to hear something, but he actually came through to her. And I had an argument the night before with a family member, and then when the Reiki practitioner, Lucy, she actually said to me, he said that he's really sorry about that family member. And basically, like, and I was like, oh my goodness, like that must actually be him, because how else would she know that? And then he said that he's just so sorry, just so remorseful. And like, it was really, really like, oh wow. And this was maybe like 6, 7 months after. I then tried it again the following June with a spiritualist, like a psychic medium. And she said, like, he really hasn't seen much here, because he never said much in real life, like really opened up. So why would he then come forward and speak? But then I tried it again at New Year's. I think every 6 months, usually, if I'm not doing well mentally, I'll book a psychic medium,
Yeah.
definitely. And it's also for reassurance about your future as well. But I also, before, like, kind of Christmas someone about, and I'm doing one again soon. So I think once or twice a year, I really like it, because, but I feel you need to go into them and not expect to hear
Yeah.
anything, because you could be left really, really disappointed. And you also want to hear them say like positive things about your future, just reassurance that you're going to all be okay. That's it as well.
And I suppose that's a gamble, isn't it? Because you might
Yes.
not get what you want. A friend of mine booked me in with one that she went to, and I think it was probably, from what I've heard, because I'm on the fence. Okay, I'm on the fence. I don't want to say no, but I have no personal experience. So, and I'm the idea of just blind faith, I can't get on board with. So I think unless I see a tangible evidence for myself.
Yes.
But this woman, I mean, I gave a fake name and I took my wedding ring off, but she didn't even pick up on the fact I was sad. And I thought, oh, but it could have been too soon. It could have been the wrong
Yes.
person. My mother-in-law has seen somebody and had a really positive experience.
Mhm.
And like you, I know what I'm looking for. I know what I want to know. I just want to know that he's proud of me, that
Yes.
that we love him,
Yeah.
and I suppose at the back of my mind is, what if you don't try and contact him and he's like, what the fuck, Rose? Like, where are you?
It's a fine balance, definitely.
So I think I might treat
Yeah.
myself and do it, but
Yeah.
go in with that very open mind of, it is what it is,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's a weird one, because I'm so scared of believing something that's not true. I don't know. Probably another conversation in that, isn't there? One about whether or not we should go and see psychics, because we are vulnerable,
Yeah.
aren't we, as well?
Absolutely. And I think as well, grief is a big business, and you can spend a fortune on grief coaches, counselling, psychics, because they tap into that kind of vulnerability, and people like me that are desperate for answers, desperate to hear something. I think that things like that, they are good, they are healing, you can get closure, but I feel maybe like once a year, maybe at most twice a year, because if you go every month,
Oh God, imagine.
you're not really moving on, you're still trying to keep that relationship almost going. So
Yeah.
I think definitely have an open mind. I would definitely try it and go to someone
Yeah.
that's recommended, definitely.
I
But
might do, and I
yeah.
might do an episode on it as well. It'd be quite interesting to sort of share my experience, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely,
Oh.
definitely. I'd recommend Reiki as well if you've ever tried that.
I've had Reiki, yes. Again, I'm on the fence about it, but I'm a bit of a, I don't know. I think you've got to drop skepticism as well. I think you've got to be
Alan was
open.
skeptical. Alan was so
Yeah.
skeptical. He didn't believe in any of that, whereas I did. But I feel like if you do things like that, then you'll become more open to it, definitely. Like,
Yeah, and Ben wasn't religious or particularly spiritual, but he definitely believed there was more than this.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I found it quite annoying. I was like, why aren't you trying to contact me? Where are my signs? Flicker a light switch or do something.
Oh, I get that all the time.
I get nothing. But at the, and I'm going to slip it in, at the podcast awards, they, right before my category came up, they played I think it's Elton John and it might be Dua Lipa, but I'm not sure. And it's a remix and it's got Rocket Man mixed into it, which was Ben's funeral song. And it came on and I was like, oh God, typical. And then, then I'm looking for signs
that's
now,
a clear sign. That's a clear sign, definitely. Yeah. I think you need to be open signs as well. I think you need to believe in it. Like, I don't really see robins much as mum sees robins. I see butterflies all the time, ladybugs. I have lights flickering all the time, and it's really creepy because in my living room, he sat at one couch on one side, the light above it flashes constantly, and it was after he died. And I'm going to get it fixed soon because it is annoying. The kids put it on and it's like a disco, honestly. But and it can be minor things. And the biggest thing that happened to me, I think I was like moaning about him to like our family. They were in the house just seeing how hard it was like doing this by myself. I was really, really moaning. And then I had the power cut. the whole house went out, and it was at that moment, and I actually got such a fright. No other streets in the house were affected, nothing was plugged in to cut the electricity, but the power actually went out.
Could you do something useful?
I know, like fix something.
Yeah. Use those powers and change that light bulb.
Definitely.
God, that's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I would get comfort from it. And I suppose perhaps what's putting me off is the idea that I won't get anything and then it really is over. Does that make sense? I think
absolutely.
that and acceptance, it's a long road, acceptance, isn't it? It's one thing when you acknowledge they're dead. It's another thing when you acknowledge you'll never see them again.
Yes, absolutely. So no, I would try it. And then
all right,
again,
I will.
Yeah.
I will, and I will report back to you. How's that? I'm committing to myself. I'm committing. It's not live, but on microphone. Oh, Lisa, it has been a joy to talk to you today, even considering the subject matter. It's a funny old job, isn't it, that I've got, where I talk to people about things like this, and I love it. I don't know what that says about me, to be honest with you. Before you go, is there anything else you wanted to add? Just mention your socials again, just so people can find you.
Yep, it's I'm on Instagram and TikTok at _widow diaries. And
definitely give her a follow, because she is brilliant. And on the way, how old are you? You're not very old, are you? 33. So yeah, you're not, I mean, compared to me, you're not, but you're very, very wise, and you've clearly done an awful lot of work on yourself. And I think when we talk about doing work, like it's work, it's exhausting, and it's mind numbing sometimes. And sometimes you just get up in the morning and you think, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Absolutely.
And yes, you don't have a choice because you've got children, but you kind of do, because you said to me before we came on mic, your son was at football training, right? So you're making the choice that they're going to continue to do activities that they love, that they're going to do, that you're going to be present and there and fix yourself so that you can help them. And I think that speaks absolute volumes about you as a person and as a mother.
Thank you so much. That's so kind, honestly.
Well, it's true. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't. And I'm so very, very sorry that Alan died, and I'm so very sorry about the way it happened. And I wish there was a wand I could wave to make your life perfect, but I can't. But what you can do is build a life around it, and you're already way ahead of me on that.
Oh, not at all. Honestly, I feel the exact same way about you. I'm just so sorry what happened to you. But seeing people like yourself further on the journeys, and I'm sure everybody will say it to you, it gives me so much hope for myself in the future, that you're still standing, your kids are still here, happy. Absolutely.
When it happened to me, I needed to find somebody that I thought was a bit like me, and B, that was all right. And for me, it was Nora McKinney, who did the Hot Young Widows Club. And I joined that way back in 2018. And I've still got some amazing friends from that, and it just actually, I'll be honest with you, I was like, I want to be the British version of her, so that's kind of what's going on here.
Oh yeah, definitely. You are, totally.
That's my well, you take care of yourself and those gorgeous children. Stay in touch, please. You're a part of the WAF family now, and I'm hoping to do some more retreats, and Kent's a long way to come, but perhaps I can do something around the middle of the country, because I really would love to get loads of you together. Right, you take care of yourself. I'll book him with a spiritualist and you report back. For all of you who are out there listening, thank you very much for your continued support. It does mean the absolute world. And I will be back with you next week with another story from the coalface of widowhood. It's over and out for now. Goodbye. Thank you for listening. If you found this episode helpful, hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you think someone else may benefit from this, please do share. We'd also really appreciate a quick review. It helps more people find the show. Thank you again, and see you next time on Widowed AF.